Damn, son, where'd you find this?
Who taught you to hate the texture of your hair? Who taught you to hate the color of your skin to such extent that you bleach to get like the white man? Who taught you to hate the shape of your nose and the shape of your lips? Who taught you to hate yourself from the top of your head to the soles of your feet?
I love people as I meet them one by one. People are just wonderful as individuals. You see the whole...
My great aspiration, my greatest ambition is to be so good. Now, in that way, I'm tiresome, as I suppose, to live with, because I want to be a fantastic human being.
I am the greatest. We're not disputing that, Cassius, but how does Sonny Liston feel about it? He can't feel but one way, and let's take everything I say and like it. Because February the 25th, I'm going to take back my job. I'm the champ. He's no champ. He's a tramp.
When you see men fall, don't laugh. Learn. Learn. Because you're on your way up. And the things that tempt people to fall, you and I are not free from that temptation.
If I'm a one-hit wonder, at least I got one, huh? At least I got something. Really ain't me. The beat bumping, one song could change lives. Let's see something. One joke could save lives. We gon' keep coming, keep functioning. Something out of nothing. Ball-wise, I'm top 300. Get your favorite artist. I'll chop it up with mutton. If they haters, your ghost can be bludgeon. If they for real, we getting money. Such ideas minus Negroes, button everything authentic. Stupid shit I did it. Punishing myself like my mom prison. No questions, no tea, not lifting. One time for tea, being broke wasn't living. One hit wonder. At least I got.
Yo. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning. Happy Friday, people. Glory, praise, and honor to the Most High. It is good to be here. An honor and a privilege, something that is not awarded to everybody. Shout outs to my poets, my writers, my content creators. Shout out to Rob for the intro. You dig? Shout out to Chef. Shout out to Arcana, Blue Flames, all my artists, wherever you are. If you've been on this platform prior, or if we've recently worked together on anything, salutes to you. I got Sydney in the building. I got a clip. And you hate to see it. But I want to bring some light on it. Let me go ahead and bring Sydney up to the main screen. If you want to support the channel, you already know, repost, hit the thumbs up, share, let the people know that we are live. That helps me with the algorithm. It helps us reach a broader audience. That being said, let me get this right. Hold on a minute. Which one do I want? Sid, what's up? What's up?
Hello. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. What's the word? How you feeling? How was the day?
Pretty good. She's asleep. He's asleep. So I'll have a bit of quiet this time. But I was asleep for a bit. It was nice and warm and sunny. So like a cat, I guess I fell asleep. But other than that, doing pretty good. My husband got back earlier. And since I'm not going to that poetry event, since it in the nicest part of town, and we were going to have the kids with us. So we're like, yeah, maybe not. I don't have to stress about that. Don't have to take that drive during, rush hour traffic on a Friday. So a little bit of stress off my plate. But I'm excited to not miss this time.
Well, it's good to have you here, man. Let's break down this situation. Man who stabs 6-year-old gets released from prison. I guess, just to give some context, the gentleman in which we are speaking on, he played insanity, or he has some type of mental diagnosis that allowed him to get out sooner than expected. So I think that's where things get a little tricky here. But I'm going to bring it up on a big screen. I'm going to let it run, and we'll just take it from there.
So deep in my heart, and finally, he took his last breath, looked at me, and closed his eyes, and he was gone.
Ronald Exantis traveled from Indianapolis to Versailles, walked into the Tiptons' home, and attacked the family in their sleep. Logan was killed, and his father and 2 sisters were injured.
He snaps, and he just stands up with me sitting on top of him, and he throws me across the room. 10, 15 feet, he throws me across the room and goes after her.
3 years later, in 2018, Exantis was found not guilty of murder by reason of insanity, but convicted of assaulting other family members. And just this month, October 1st, Exantis was released early from prison for good behavior.
It's infuriating that a 6-year-old was killed sleeping in his bed, and someone literally only did 10 years in prison, and he didn't even do the time for that. He did time for assault charges. It's just infuriating.
But the family says it isn't just anger they're living with. It's fear.
Me and my siblings, and even my mom and dad, from here on out, we have the burden of making sure that he doesn't come back.
He told her he was going to kill every one of us. So now I've got to be on extra guard to protect my kids, because I will not lose another one. Not like this. I laid in bed. I gave up. I gave up on life. I gave up on my family. I gave up on everybody. I just wanted to die.
Everybody deserves a fighting chance to have justice for them, and it's not.
I've had my talks with God, because I'm not afraid to tell you all. I told the court, if I ever cross paths with him, I will kill the man. I will kill him where he stands. I held him.
Heartbreaking. This man drives to a specific location. I don't know if this was a random or if this was a intentional drive. Goes to the house, breaks in, assaults, and takes the life of a child. Only gets sentenced for assault, released on good behavior. Oh, there's a lot of emotions in the air. Man, your initial thoughts?
First of all, that's just horrific for any family to have to go through. I have a kid who's 4, and I can't even imagine having to go through that, having to witness that and be part of that and be assaulted yourself while going through that, have your daughters assaulted while going through that. My heart goes out to that family. That's horrific. And it's like, it's always a tragedy when a child is lost, especially to that type of violence entering your home. I don't know if it was the middle of the night or the day, but just somebody entering your home and doing that to you. I mean, there's no words to explain how heartbreaking that is. But also the infuriation behind the fact that he did get out that early. Even the governor of Florida was shocked by how short of a sentence he served. And a lot of people are not happy about this because, like, you killed a child and you get out on good behavior. And his particular lawyer apparently said that he's made good strides to work on himself. Okay, sure. Good for him, I guess, but have him continue to work on himself in prison for the rest of his sentence. I'm like, we have a law that's trying to be passed in South Carolina where women can get 30 years to life for an abortion. Yet a 6-year-old kid that exists in this world no longer exists in this world, and they get 6 years, 10 years, however long it was. There's something seriously wrong with this system. It's a mute epidemic today.
Too many problems here. One thing that I saw when I was reading the comments, there were a number of people who they suggested that playing the insanity role should be thrown out. I don't know how you or the rest of the world feels about that. It's reminiscent of the New York train stabbing, where the man clearly had numerous charges. They knew exactly his background. They knew that man was definitely a danger to the community, and yet and still they released him. And I don't understand our justice system. I don't understand. I would love to have a lawyer come up here. I'm gonna have to try to do an episode where I have somebody come up and they answer some questions for the people, because one thing that I am curious about is how someone who could commit such a heinous crime be released back on the street with such a lenient sentence. I don't get it. I don't understand how you could possibly think that if someone has this rap sheet that they're going to change anything about their character within a few months or a few weeks. This man drove to that location. I'm still trying to wrap my head around this. I'm insane or I'm diagnosed part, but he has the mental capacity to put gas in his car and then drive for X amount of hours, break into someone's property, assault them, kill someone. Like help me figure out how this works. You can't be that incompetent. Can mentally unstable people drive? Can they be behind the wheel of a heavy operating machine? I don't get that.
It's actually worse than I thought. So apparently, the Kentucky Parole Board, which oversees parole in the state, unanimously voted for him to stay in prison, but they were overruled by a state statute that allowed him to leave. And this was from the Director of Public Affairs for the Kentucky Department of Corrections. Every time it had the opportunity, the parole board recommended that he stay in prison, but Kentucky law required the Department of Corrections to release the inmate on the mandatory re-entry supervision on October 1st after accruing jail credits, good time, and educational credits. And the other aspect that to me is astonishing is in the process of the court case originally, they had to release their addresses. And so he has access to their address. And the one good thing that I found, also you asked for his background. He was a licensed nurse at a dialysis clinic who was going to school for his nursing degree before it happened. He just got arrested 10 days ago because he failed to register as a felon. As part of his supervised parole, he was required to register with law enforcement within 48 hours of his arrival in Florida, which he failed to do. He was also living near an elementary school, even though a sheriff in Florida stated that I don't know if he wasn't allowed to, but they just said that he'd taken residence in a home immediately adjacent to an elementary school, an especially alarming detail for law enforcement and the public. So on October 13th, 2025, he was arrested in Marion County, Florida for the parole violation, and they're going to have him extradited to Kentucky. He's going to be going to Kentucky, where that family is, knowing their address, or at least having the ability to know his address. So he's back in prison, I guess, but they're going to send him to the exact same state that he committed the original crime. And by the looks of where he decided to live, he might not be actually rehabilitated. I have heard of so many different stories where somebody has gotten out on good behavior and then immediately reoffends. So, and he's a schizophrenic. Schizophrenia, unfortunately, is a extremely difficult mental illness to work with and to heal from, because you can have relapses, especially if you lapse on your medication. And historically, people that get out of prison have a really hard time maintaining their own life because they're used to a specific routine and kind of ushered through the day for that specific routine. And so when you get out, it can actually trigger relapses. It can trigger a loss of order because of that change of environment. And so there is a fairly significant possibility that he might not get his medication. He won't be going and getting those services that he needs as somebody with schizophrenia. I literally just watched a clip or a video, a police footage video 2 days ago, I think, of a mother with schizophrenia that stabbed her daughter in the back 8 times. Her daughter survived. Miraculously, she survived. But the mother had schizophrenia. She ended up calling the police when she came to. But it can make you either unaware of what you're doing, or it can make you have thoughts. Like for her the voices in her head were telling her to do that or she was going to die, type of deal. But she literally 3 days ago had been released from a mental health facility because she had been having issues like this, and she had forgotten to take her medication the day before. So this is something that is a real concern with people that have schizophrenia, because number one, unlike other things, it can't go away. It's never going to go away. And it can increase with age. As you get older, you can have more difficulties trying to manage your illness. And as I said, a loss of order can relapse anybody with mental health. I have had relapses with my mental health because of like changing a dorm situation, or moving from my mom's house to college, or going through issues where we were unhoused for a short amount of time. So anything can trigger a relapse, and it's alarming that they're bringing him back to that state. And there's the possibility that he could have access to this family again, especially when he knows that they're responsible for him going to prison, even though they're not responsible. He's responsible for getting himself into prison, but he, with that mindset, could very well blame them for what happened.
That's crazy. This is how I feel about it, right? Anyone who has committed a crime under a severe diagnosis like that, if you're not putting them behind bars, they should definitely be in a facility. There's no reason for them to be on the street. Like if it's one of those situations like this, and if I'm reading this correctly, you're telling me that there's really no controlling this, or no way to actually suppress it in a way where the person who suffers from it has enough ability to kind of regulate themselves on a daily basis in the regular population. Then no, you should not be walking the streets by yourself freely like that at all. I'm just now hearing that this man had a pretty decent background from what you just read. I assumed that he was just a guy who he might have had a regular job that didn't require the level of expertise or knowledge. But hearing that, and then to hear that the man had issues like that, how do you correct me if I'm wrong? If you're a schizophrenic, how do you get employed in the field of work that you get? How does that happen? Because right now people are trying to find jobs, and McDonald's is not even hiring people. So it's like, how does that work? What are we really doing here? Nobody with a mental illness should, or you should have supervision. Like there has to be a way where you can monitor folks with these type of problems if you're going to allow them to roam freely. Prisoners or folks who are under probation, they get the monitor on their foot. or the ankle monitor. How do you look over somebody with a mental illness? Makes me think that they don't really care anyway. Do people with mental illnesses have the right to plead insanity for committing murder, homicide, committing any type of violent acts towards another body? Do they get to have that loophole? That's the question. That's what I want to know from the people in general. I might end up making a post about that too. I really want to know how y'all feel about that. Because it's like there's a thin line between it. I can't sit here as a parent, watch you allow somebody to be released early like that after my son has been killed in front of me. And then if I'm hearing him correctly, he says he's going to come back and come for the rest of my... No. This has nothing to do with race. This is about right and wrong and about protecting your loved ones. Now, whoever diagnosed him and they came to the conclusion that he, without a shadow of a doubt, has some form of mental health issue, decided that he shouldn't be punished. How did you come to that conclusion? That's why I'm like, I need to speak to a lawyer. I need to hear the technical side of it. I need to hear a psychological side of it. I need answers. I'm confused. So a sane person can commit the same crime, get life, but because you're chemically imbalanced, you don't have to go through the same punishment. Like, what's the rehabilitation process like? You sentenced them for what, X amount of years, didn't really stay long, then you released them because of good behavior. So he had enough common sense to be on his best while he was locked up, but he couldn't be on his best behavior when he got in the car and drove to their house. Yeah. Too many things don't add up or make sense to me. I'm not following it. I'm not getting it. It's almost as if you're telling me you don't really want to do the job that you're being paid for. You're supposed to protect and serve the people. You're supposed to take care of your sick and shut in. And there's a lot of men and women that are sick and they need help. Real professional help.
I think the thing that's crazy to me is how many people are of caliber are also upset with this decision. As I said, the governor said It was shocking that Exantis was let out of prison in Kentucky after serving a mere fraction of his sentence after murdering a 6-year-old kid. Even the White House has started looking into this early release. I'm like, the people that have been pardoning criminals left and right, they're even mad about this. The lieutenant of Marion County, Paul Bloom of the sheriff's office, condemned the crimes in early release. And this is a direct quote. I get he was released from what my understanding on good behavior. Well, I think the overwhelming evil behavior that he exhibited in killing this child and trying to kill others in the same home outweighs any good behavior he could do in the next 400 years. And that's another thing that really stood out to me that I just thought was astonishing. So he could be convicted for assault for the other family members, but he's going to be completely exonerated for the kid. Are you serious? Like, you don't even want to give him aggravated assault or second-degree murder or some other charge that at least criminalizes the fact that he did that? You're going to exonerate him for that? I'm like, so what you're telling me is I could go and like attack somebody and cause them to pass away and then just say, oh, sorry, it was my bipolar disorder. I didn't have any control of my actions. And then I could possibly get away with it. It's ridiculous. Like, it literally is going to enable people that are vicious people, terrible people, to be like, oh, cool. All I have to do is say that I have a disease that affected me. Oh, I'm this, whatever. I'm diagnosed as this. Like, you should be able to let me go. Like, I didn't have any control. Like, we don't know what his thinking was. Maybe he does have schizophrenia, but maybe he wasn't in the moment. Like, I mean, we'll never know for sure. But the fact that they could get him on the assaults, but nothing for the kid, is disgusting. And I don't like, why does that rule exist? Oh, even though they've murdered, like, that should be people that are murderers or R-wordists, they should be exempt from that rule. Like, sure, you cause a car accident while you're drunk and somebody passes away, or you like accidentally hurt somebody in some other way. Accidentally. Sure. Maybe with good behavior you get out because you didn't intentionally go out to hurt somebody. But you murdered a child. How is that in any, like, especially somebody that is high risk for this? As I said, like, if you do it by accident, like you're drunk or whatever, you aren't a high risk individual. Like, there's stuff that you can do to, like, now you have to use like a breathalyzer or something, like, to turn on your car and whatnot. Like, there are things that you can do to make sure that doesn't happen again. But there's no way that you can, unless you put them in a facility, there's no way that you can guarantee somebody who has a severe mental illness. Like, schizophrenia is one of the worst mental illnesses that you can have. The risk of relapse with schizophrenia is incredibly high. For those that don't know what schizophrenia is or what it entails, I mean, we've all seen it in the movies, but you know how movies are. Some of the main symptoms of schizophrenia include delusions, believing things that are not true, even with clear evidence. Even if somebody's telling you it's not true, you have a hard time believing it. Hallucinations, you're sensing or seeing things that aren't there. You're hearing you could hear voices, see people, feel something touch you, even if nothing is there. That's why there's that myth of like, oh, there's bugs under my skin. Like, that can be a sign of schizophrenia. And not everyone has the same types of symptoms or the same severity, but these are generally like what you can have. Disorganized speech, where you're having a hard time organizing your thoughts while you're speaking. And so it can make it hard to stay on topic or to be understood. That's why you can see that like rambling type of ranting behavior with individuals with schizophrenia. You have negative symptoms such as the reduced ability to function. You might show very little emotion. You might speak in a flat tone. You might lose motivation to socialize or enjoy activities. And because of these issues that you experience, you can experience suspiciousness, paranoia, fear, like constantly. Often these people don't care about hygiene. They don't care about their appearance. They don't take care of themselves, which again puts you at risk for relapsing. Have depression, anxiety, and suicidal thoughts, which again raise your risk of violence. And there's a high percentage of drug, nicotine, and alcohol abuse, and both kinds of drugs, medication and recreational drugs, which can not only, like, we all know how those things affect your mood while you're doing them, but the fluctuation between drugs to alcohol to the prescription med, like a lot of those don't go together. And again, it increases your risk of violence. Everybody knows that people have gotten into drunken rage, or people have gotten into like methed up rages and all kinds of like crazy behavior. I remember hearing a story years ago about this woman that accidentally killed her husband on their wedding night because they did acid together or something like that, and she like lost her on him and accidentally killed him and woke up in police custody and had no memory of any of that. And you could tell that she was like inconsolably, like she did not mean to do that, but it was because of the drugs, and that's what it does to you, or can do to you. And if you're combining schizophrenia with those types of drugs and with alcohol and with this stuff, it can do a lot of damage. It can make your risk of relapse incredibly high, and again, your risk for violence incredibly high. Some risk factors for schizophrenia is exposed to how it was caused originally. You can have chemical imbalances in your brain. You can have brain development issues before birth. You can have different parts of your brain not connecting properly. And this can be caused by genetics. This can be caused by environmental factors, such as if your mother was exposed to certain viruses, malnutrition, or drugs. Early substance use can also trigger this. So this is not something that goes away. This is not something like ADHD or autism or stuff like that, where you can learn to, or like OCD, stuff like that, where you can learn over time to manage your symptoms. Because oftentimes, not with ADHD, but like stuff like OCD can be triggered by past events, but is not like ingrained into your brain as a physical abnormality. There are ways that you can really reduce your symptoms by through various means, and the risk of relapse or the risk of violence with those types of mental illnesses is there, but it's not as significant as schizophrenia. From what I remember, schizophrenia is ranked as the most dangerous or second most dangerous mental illness to have. And I'm going to look up the statistics, but there's also a high percentage of these individuals that either kill themselves or kill or hurt other people. They also have very, very poor outcomes in jobs, very poor outcomes in relationships, and frequent run-ins with the law. And as I said, having schizophrenia requires consistency. You are going to have to likely take medications. You likely will need to take therapy. And honestly, anybody that has a mental illness, I highly recommend therapy in general, because you need somebody to walk you through how to help yourself and how to reduce your risk of those symptoms. Even myself, who has a background in psychology and I'm reading all the time and whatnot, I'm so thankful that I have a therapist, that I have a psychiatrist to help me through the process, because I can go on, like not like that, but I can have a hard time like taking care of myself. I can go periods of time like in the past when I was in college, I went through a period of time where I was experiencing an increase in my symptoms because of all the issues that I was having with my roommates and issues with my mom, and I was having a hard time managing all the schoolwork and stuff. And I ended up I had a manic episode triggered by this, that I was up awake for 3 days in a row. And I ended up falling asleep walking across the street. My friends had to like help me continue walking across the street because I was literally like nodding off as I was crossing the street. And my room was a disaster. Like there were food containers everywhere. I hadn't been out of bed I hadn't been out for like 2 weeks. I stopped talking to people for like 6 months. And I have it not very, like mine isn't that severe. I have a pretty good handle on it. Like I have my moments, but it's nothing close to what schizophrenia can turn into. And again, I have help with that. And even I can have issues now and again. And again, I don't have violent tendencies. I don't have thoughts in my head that are telling me to like hurt people. And I have help. So this type of diagnosis puts him at increased risk of doing this again. So I think it's absolutely ridiculous that, number one, they would let him out. Everyone agrees. The parole board agrees. The governor agreed. The lieutenant attorney, whatever he was called, the sheriff, all of these people, except his stupid lawyer, were supportive of keeping him in prison because of what he did. And whatever that rule is, it needs to go. If somebody commits a violent act, they need to be in prison for decades. I don't care what they did. I don't care how much good behavior they did. They should not be released. That is disgusting, and that is an insult to that family.
A huge slap in the face. That's why I go back and I say to myself, all right, we need some people to sit down and go over these rules and these laws. You're supposed to give out punishments according to the crimes, and you're supposed to be fair about them as much as possible. I understand the lawyer's just doing his job. I could never be a lawyer. If I was to be a lawyer, I could not take cases where the person is clearly guilty, but I got to get them out. I could not do that. But you said there's a likelihood that you would have to take a lot of different medicines for schizophrenia. That means that this could either be supervised or unsupervised, which means that they can tell you this is what you need to do. That doesn't mean you have to listen to it or abide to it. So they can give you everything that you need to help you out on a daily, but you're the one who's going to have to pop them pills or whatever. You can't really depend on people to do that. Well, who really likes popping pills 24 hours a day? You know?
And oftentimes you have to take them at specific times. Where, for example, with my seizure medication, I have to take them 12 hours apart because it starts to like decay in the body after 12 hours. And if I take them too close together or too far apart, it can trigger a seizure. If I miss a day, it can trigger a seizure. If I even miss a dose, it can trigger a seizure. And with schizophrenia, the types of medications they take, not being on those medications, your body coming down from those medications can cause their own types of symptoms. You can, he's very likely going to need antipsychotic medications. And if you stop taking that abruptly, or you combine it with alcohol or other types of drugs or medications, it can trigger a psychotic break episode. And then there's also like doctors, psychiatrists, they have to pay very close attention to the types of medications they put together, because a lot of the medications can't go together. He's likely going to also have to take mood medications if he's experiencing stuff like depression, anxiety, and whatever. But there's some that are called SSRIs, serotonin something reuptake something. And those you can't take with certain types of medications because it can cause problems with your heart or with your circulatory system or your kidneys or your liver. And so you have to be very careful of which ones you're combining. And it can take years to figure out which combination works for you. Like even myself, I have been taking medication since 2024, for like October 2024 or whatever. And I'm still having it adjusted to make sure that it's the right dosage for me and it works the right way for me. And there are certain medications I cannot take because of the type of medication that I'm on. And I'm lucky because there aren't really many side effects with what I'm taking, but you can also have additional side effects from those medications as you're taking them, such as it can make you tired. So you have to take it at a certain time so you're not tired throughout the day. It can make you like kind of loopy almost, or like drunk feeling, which you'd also have to take it when you're going to sleep. And then, as I said, it can cause additional mood problems. Some of the medications can cause you to be depressed because the way it works is to repress activity in your brain or certain chemicals in your brain. And so it can make you feel depressed. Some of them can make you feel anxious. And again, you really have to keep up with doctors to make sure that you are getting the right care you need, because one, the psychiatrist, especially with certain types of drugs, they have to put that order in regularly. Like you can't just be like, all right, for the rest of your life, like you have this and you can just go in anytime and get it. Like even the pharmacy is not allowed to give you medication within a certain time frame. Like if I got my medication on Friday, I wouldn't be able to go in next Friday and get another dose of the medication. Like I would have to wait a certain period of time to be able to re-up on that medication to reduce the risk of me just like taking all of them at once, even though I never do that. And these are all factors to consider. And as you mentioned it a little bit earlier, but he's getting out in 2025. And we know the state of the world right now, the state of this country, how people are about to lose their health insurance. People are about to lose health care. Doctors' offices, especially in rural areas, are wildly understaffed and are struggling to keep their doors open, are struggling to keep funded. Big hospitals are overwhelmed with patients because they have so few staff members, and it's hard to keep up with all the needs of people. And additionally, if you don't have healthcare, some of these medications can be wildly expensive. One particular one I have, I think I've mentioned it before. It can literally save my life if I'm having a seizure, because it stops me from having the seizure in the middle of the episode. If I did not have insurance, it would be $1,200 per dose. I'm like, if you don't have health insurance, if you don't have regular contact with your doctors, it can be incredibly hard for you. I myself struggle with that because not only can I not drive right now, but I have had a history of, because of the bipolar disorder, I'll start things when I'm in my like highs, but then as soon as I get to my depression stage, I stop showing up to the doctor. I stop taking care of myself. I stop taking the medication. I've been on and off things a lot of time throughout my life. Luckily, the one that I take for my seizures also helps with my mood. And so ever since I started taking it, it has helped me normalize my life and given me routine and given me the opportunity to stay consistent, which is the consistency has helped with my mood. So it's like a cycle where if you have to create the consistency to allow the consistency to continue. And if you have a disorder that makes you already suspicious, already have issues with consistency, you already have issues with mood swings and that type of stuff, like you could end up having thoughts like, oh, the doctor's trying to kill me, oh, the doctor's trying to hurt me, oh, this medication is evil. Like I've heard of schizophrenia symptoms where the voices in their head were literally telling them like, don't take the medication. And again, somebody that already has a history of violence, this isn't something you play around with. This is somebody that needs to be in a facility, that needs to be watched and have his behavior managed by external individuals who have a skill in this area. He should not be left alone with his brain, really. Like he needs to have that consistent help from professionals. And the fact that, again, he was living next to a school, he is now being sent to the same place that the family lived. I can't really see a good outcome for this person. I pray for the family. I really hope that he just does not remember where they were or like doesn't care or something like that. But it's I can't even. As somebody that's gone through mental illness, and not even that severe in comparison to what people can go through, I just cannot understand how someone like that can be allowed to be free to their own devices.
Listening to that man, then his wife and his daughter, I can't imagine trying to move on with your life. The justice system fails you. And now you've pretty much put me in a position where you're leaving me no choice, because at this point, all bets are off with me. You telling me he's out? On good behavior. You can forgive, you can't forget. I tell you right now, you show up at my house this time, there won't be another time. And I felt him when he said that. The justice system has to do better with their laws. A lot better. This ain't even the first example of when things do not look like there's any sense or reason to it. It's just what you just get stuck. You're bamboozled. You're I don't even know what to say to it. Just like, how? Do y'all not care? I mean, clearly there's some people who disagree with the judgment. I think the whole thing was completely weird. How does somebody how do you charge somebody with a lesser crime and not the actual worst portion of it? It makes no sense. So when he let's just hope and pray they don't cross paths. Allow God to have his way with the situation. But let's say they do cross paths again. I don't want to hear nothing that parent is justified, especially if he comes back targeting them specifically. You can't tell me. Matter of fact, there shouldn't even been a first time, but you can't tell me he comes back again a second time that you're gonna blame this bullshit on his illness, because somewhere in your head you still have comprehension. You can still think for yourself. That's me. It ain't like you high on medication all day. He was able to drive there, so you know how to navigate. He pull up again a second time. There should not be nothing else to talk about. If that man loses his life because of this, I don't want to. That the father does not get jail time. He should not be put behind bars for that. I'm ashamed of our justice system, man. It seems like every day is something else. Every single day. Parents went to a meeting, I can't remember where. They had to give a live demonstration about having men cosplaying as women going into girls' locker rooms. They literally had two women in the room undressing in front of the people. You know, it's a bunch of old white people, old I think it was like 2 black people in there. The rest of them was old white people sitting around in the Congress styled venue, and the man is on the microphone and he's basically chewing them out. The women are basically undressing, literally undressing. They don't take their bra and stuff off, but they undress in front of him, and he's like, are you uncomfortable? You should be. This is how these girls feel when there's grown ass men going into these locker rooms, changing in front of them. You should feel uncomfortable. And I only brought that up to say, like, we gotta do better. Period. My heart goes out to that family again.
So I looked up some of the stats for schizophrenia. It's not actually not as bad as I thought, but probably because of our more modern access to medication, I wouldn't doubt that it was worse in history. But at least 1/3 of people with schizophrenia experience complete remission of the symptoms. So that means what is remission is you feel a relief from the symptoms, but that means 2/3 will still experience those symptoms regularly. And frequently schizophrenics will experience a worsening of symptoms periodically throughout their lives, and it can gradually worsen over time. It exists in about 1 in 233 people, and it can show up in late adolescence, early 20s. It puts, people with schizophrenia die 9 years earlier than the general population, and 40% of people who have schizophrenia die from unnatural causes or suicide. They're at higher risk for cardiovascular, metabolic, and infectious diseases, often because of the other things that they might be doing. And not to mention, there's a lot of stigmas that exist. So even if they're really trying to live their best life, like there's a lot of people out there that might make it harder for them. 50% of people in mental hospitals have a schizophrenia diagnosis, but only 29% of people with psychosis receive specialist mental care. And there are links to violence as well. Even though it's fairly low in comparison, I don't know in comparison to what, but even it says the overall risk remains low. But 1 in 20 women and 1 in 4 men have committed violent crimes or have been arrested for violent reasons. And that was looking at 50,000 people with schizophrenia across 15 countries. And let's see, and that was just 12 or 24 individual studies. Other factors such as the misuse of drugs and alcohol contribute to doubling of violence perpetration risk in both men and women, which really demonstrates why you absolutely have to have regular care. And as I said, they also have a much higher risk of suicide than individuals that do not have schizophrenia. They have, if you are not taking regular antipsychotic medication, your risk of suicide goes up times 12. And the relative risk for all deaths and it's a 12 time increase for all cause deaths, and it's 37 times more likely to die by suicide if you are not taking your medication. Let's see, what was it? The agitation can also be a huge factor, which can be caused by schizophrenia. And if you do not have a community around you that's willing to help you, that agitation can contribute to additional relapses with this disorder, because the agitation can make you more likely to commit acts spontaneously or out of rage. So you need to be surrounded by supportive people that know what's happening, that are understanding of the things that you're going through and are willing to work with you even when you are struggling. I can't imagine that he has a very stable life. I can't imagine that he is surrounded by a lot of people that are going to support him. Again, this is a messed up failure of the law system. And I feel so bad for that family, having that fear. In the original court case that I was reading about, the mother herself said we all died that day. And as a mother, that hit me because I would feel that. Like, I think of that already. Like, I wonder to myself, whenever I hear about car accidents that kill a child, or a child that has an accident and passes away, or other types of violence like this, I always think about how that would feel to wake up every morning and know that my daughter or my son or both are no longer here. I think about that with my husband because of everything that's happening with, one, like, car accidents are a big fear of mine because you never know about other people on the road. Like, as safe as you drive, you can be slammed by a driver that's drunk or not paying attention anywhere, anytime. Like, you could literally be around the corner of your house and that could happen to you. And I always think, like, I don't know how I'd handle that. I would die inside if I lost my husband, my child to something like that. And to have your whole family attacked and to lose your son, to witness it and not be able to do anything, they must have PTSD or at the very least, extreme anxiety around, like, even in the interview that you showed, you could see how much they were affected. The father was on the verge of tears, and the way that the two daughters were just sitting there staring at their feet, quiet, like you could tell that this still is affecting them to this day. And it's heartbreaking. And to have that lack of justice is going to contribute to that times 1,000. Not to mention now the knowledge that he's going to be back in your state again. My heart just goes out to that family. That is just horrific.
My final thoughts. Learn the laws in your state to better protect your household.
Lock your doors.
If you ain't locking your doors in 2025, I don't know where the hell you live at, because yeah, this ain't the movies. Leaving your window, like your blinds open and all that shit. I don't know how anybody do that. Nah. No. Make sure your cameras are working, Ring cameras, all that. We need, matter of fact, we need more neighborly love, man. We definitely need more neighbors to start working together to look out for each other, man, because y'all live right next to, like, come on, man. You could be literally saving somebody's life, helping somebody out. Be the eyes that they can't be, and vice versa. Yeah, that's crazy, bro. Ain't no way in the world I'm not locking my doors. Nor do I want perverts and stuff staring in my windows. Y'all don't watch TV, or y'all don't, I don't know if y'all living under a rock. There's too much going on to just be careless like that. But again, my heart go out to them. I pray that they're safe and they're covered. Justice. They need to figure out how to get these things in order in the judicial system, because there's no way in the world I will ever understand how he was able to accomplish what he was able to accomplish and not really get any real sentencing for it. If you have anything else you want to say before we close out, you got the floor. Shout outs to Chef. Shout outs to everybody who hung out with us this evening. I hope you all have a blessed night.
I have a poem. Also, I just want to say thank you, Chef and Real Spill, for joining us. I imagine this was a much sadder conversation than usual, so I appreciate you for staying with us. And Chef, make sure you start locking those doors. This is exactly how he got in their house. But yeah, so I wrote this poem to express how I felt with my dad's passing. He had 2 strokes, once when I was 12 and once when I was 17 or 19. And he passed away from that second one. So I had written this to explain how it felt. It's called Seething. Broken, shattered, sharp, jagged pieces, with nothing left except red, angry edges. Glaring to the depths of your own reflection, you stare back at nothing but yourself. You could punch yourself. It still wouldn't hurt. Damaged, destroyed, strewn out, you fall apart like long, rushing rivers. Like the scrawlings on land from tornadoes' cursive hands, you are devastated, so you must devastate. You must break, like earth-splitting quakes, lashing out at the land like levees with no brakes, holding back water to avoid washing away those still near. Family and friends are still there, but you are not. Living without them, you could punch yourself, but it still wouldn't hurt.
Thank you for sharing that. God bless you, the family. Shout outs to everybody in the building. Thank y'all for hanging out. We will be back tomorrow morning. If you can make it, tap in, hit the bell notification so you are alerted when we go on. We got 2 bangers for y'all. Matter of fact, this whole weekend is about to be lit. So appreciate y'all time. And y'all enjoy the rest of your night. Till later.
Stay safe out there.
If I'm a one-hit wonder, at least I got one, huh? At least I got something, really ain't me. The beat bumping, one song could change lives. Let's see something, one joke could save lives. We gon' keep coming, keep functioning, something out of nothing. Ball-wise, I'm top 300, get your favorite artist. I'll chop it up with mutton if they haters. Your ghost could be bludgeon if they for real. We getting money, subtract BS minus Negroes, button everything authentic. Stupid shit I did it, punishing myself like my mind prison. No questions, no tears.